Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 12th and final round.
Right hand, Golovkin steps in and down he goes again. Unbelievable. Mayweather makes him pay. What a rookie mistake. A sensational left hook by De La Hoya.
It's facts. I'm the best. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't want to believe it myself, but it's the truth. I'm the best.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
From Southern California, this is the Last Round Podcast.
Episode 52 of the Last Round Podcast. Mike, 52 weeks of in-studio episodes. What do you think about that?
I am very Phil.
I am very Phil. You're Alexander Usyk now from this past Saturday in Chicago. But once again, guys, thanks a lot for joining us. I'm Danny Z along with my co-host Michael Shepard, coming off a weekend of fights in the Windy City in Chicago, Illinois on DAZN. We talked about just before we came on air. I think DAZN is the busiest network in the sport of boxing. What do you think?
I would say so. Probably the busiest in just boxing. Well, because obviously you've got the Matchroom fights from the UK, the Matchroom fights from Italy, plus Matchroom USA. So, yeah, I would definitely agree with that. With ESPN, maybe a close second.
Close second. But I think DAZN has a top spot at the moment. But before we get into the previews and fight reviews of our normal scheduled programming here at the Last Round, we do have a significant guest on the line who was actually on the card this past Saturday in Chicago, Illinois on DAZN. And he got the decision win, even though there was like a headbutt involved or something. But he did get the win, and he remained undefeated at 4-0 by obviously getting the W in Chicago, Illinois on DAZN. Otha Jones III joining us here at the Last Round. Thanks a lot for joining us, man.
No problem.
So, as we mentioned, you got the W this past Saturday in Chicago on DAZN. What just to kind of speak on your win, what do you think about it? Of course, there was like the headbutt situation. What did you think about that?
He was a tough customer, I got the W or whatever, but he had little tactics that he was doing. I was hurting him, so the headbutt one of the tactics.
You could see Otha, once he got to the third round, that he kind of knew that he was losing, so he kind of went to those underhand tactics, and you could see, I think, the third round where he headbutted you, that you were kind of literally using one eye.
Oh, yeah. He headbutted me, and I had seen two of them, and I tried to keep working, so I closed one eye so I come through the adversity.
How's your eye right now? How's it healing?
It's good. I don't have a black eye. It's good. I'm seeing good. I'm good overall.
Okay, so there's no reason to be concerned about the eye. It's not going to affect you in any way in terms of any issues or anything like that?
No, sir.
Okay, good. That's good news. So obviously, let's go back to January of this year, and let us know if we're wrong here in our research. But this is when you signed essentially your contract with Matchroom Boxing and Eddie Hearn, right?
It was sometime this year. I don't really remember.
Okay. Well, we found it was about January, but like I said, only obviously the dates. Before you signed on with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom, were there any other promoters who you were speaking to or you were considering joining before you decided on going with Eddie Hearn?
Yeah, I had a lot of choices. The top three was Top Rank, Cameron Duncan, and Eddie Hearn. Eddie was the best, so my team talked over it. We went with Eddie Hearn.
Because I'm assuming we're assuming that you were able to speak to Eddie Hearn personally before you signed with him, right?
I had my manager do that. Not me personally, but I have my manager do it.
You're signed with Split T, Dave McWaters, I believe. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And what do you look for in a promoter? So, what drew you to Matchroom?
What drew me was that they got a lot of upcoming fighters. Um, Gazon had got the new deal, and it was just the best opportunity.
So Otha, as an amateur, and tell us if these numbers are wrong. You were 283 and 13. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So you won multiple national titles. You represented Team USA in multiple tournaments around the world. Out of all the places that you fought at while being an amateur, what was the most memorable location that you fought at?
I would say the Youth Olympics in Argentina.
And what was so memorable about that time?
Because it was the Youth Olympics. It wasn't only boxing going on. It was cross country. What else was it? Rugby, basketball. I had a lot of stuff to do out there while I was boxing. So, I had fun.
So speaking of other sports that you mentioned like that, you were also a 4-time state wrestling champion. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So I mean that's a huge accomplishment, especially in the path that you're on right now. You became a professional boxer. Was there ever a time, I'm assuming, during those years that you wanted to pursue wrestling, like in college or anything like that?
No. I mean, I started wrestling when I was 3 years old. Coming up, it made me tougher, and after I got introduced to boxing, it was, it kind of went down. It was at first it was my favorite sport. After I got introduced to boxing, it's like so whatever. Like I didn't care anymore.
How does it help you? How does wrestling help you in boxing? With like the footwork and conditioning.
Oh yeah, footwork, conditioning. Mental toughness.
At what age did you said you got in when you got introduced to boxing that that's when your focus changed to boxing from wrestling? At what age do you remember being introduced to boxing?
I was 8 years old.
And then from 8 years old you got into the gym, and your family started to get you to train.
Yes. My best friend, Pretty Boy Bram, he was a YouTube sensation, so he inspired me, and I told my dad I wanted to box.
What did your dad say when you told him you wanted to box?
He was like, "So you really want to box?" And I said, "Yeah, I want to try it." He took me to the gym, and I fell in love ever since.
What was your first reaction when you got punched in the face for the first time?
Oh man, I have a funny story. I was pumped up. I'm 8 years old. Pumped up. I'm like, it's my first sparring session. So I get in the ring. The bell ring, and I come out and I get hit. I said, "No, I quit. They're like, "Man, get in the ring." And I had to overcome my fears of getting punched in the face. After overcoming that, it was easy.
You're trained by your brother and your dad, right?
Yes, sir.
And did they already have the gym, or did they get the gym after you decided, this is something you want to pursue as a career?
No. I started off boxing at another gym in Toledo for 2 years, and then my dad had got his own gym and took off there.
which is Soul City Boxing Gym.
Yes, sir.
Where did the name Soul City come from?
It was a old school gym back in the day, and gym had a lot of, I would say, energy and they were always they always had high energy, always dancing, and so he took over the name.
So, as Mike mentioned, you're trained by your dad and your brother. So, obviously, them training you over the years, they've always obviously everybody's always a fan of a particular type of fighter or a particular type of style. Growing up, do you remember your dad and your brother kind of like while they're teaching you, while they're training you, like, you know, mentioning certain professional fighters' names, like, hey, you got to be like this or like this, like Roy Jones Jr., like that? Do you remember anything like that?
Yeah, they my when I was younger, my dad would give me homework on fighters, and I would have to tell him like what punch do they throw often? Are they a puncher? Are they a boxer? You know, so I knew a lot of names when I was younger.
Boxing runs in the family, and your sister's quite a amazing amateur, I believe.
Yeah.
She's is it O'Shea Jones, and she's a youth national champion as well. Just followed in your footsteps.
Yeah, she's elite.
And then also going back to your dad training you and stuff like that. In addition to who some of his favorite fighters were, if you know them, who were some of your favorite fighters, or who are some of your favorite fighters now?
My favorite fighter of all time is Aaron All-Time Pryor. You know, when I was younger, I came up watching him a lot.
What about your dad? Who's some of your dad's or your brother's favorite fighters?
Yeah, you have to ask him. I don't know that.
He's never told you. You guys have never had that conversation. Like, if you had to guess, like, you wouldn't know who his favorite fighter is, or anybody that he really admires.
No.
Oh man, that's some more homework that you might have to do then, you know, because you would think that you know, he would say, oh, be like this guy, but you know, that's an interesting. It's always interesting to know who you're.
No, they would never tell me be like anybody. They would say be myself. They would give me pointers,
right,
of good stuff they do, but they will never tell me to be like somebody else.
So in your second pro fight, you fought at York Hall, London, England, and you had a great reception with the fans over there.
Yes. So for some reason, I on social media, I get more fans in London than United States.
What did you think of the food over there?
It was different, but
what do you mean different?
You know,
what do you mean different?
different taste. Different taste.
Well, okay. So what are some of your favorite foods? Like you're from Ohio. So what are some of your favorite foods from here that they probably don't have over there?
I don't know.
Did you get a chance to try Nando's in England?
No.
See, everyone loves Nando's. It's big in England.
Really? What is that?
Just like chicken and kind of like a spicy sauce, but you get Nando's restaurants on like every corner.
Oh, okay, it's popular.
Yeah, it's very popular. Yeah.
I get you.
Yeah, I would have loved that. That's like my favorite year.
When you go back, because I mean, you're hopefully going to be fighting again in December. That's
hopefully, yeah, in December.
Does it look like you might be coming back in December? Like, from, you know, has Eddie Hearn said like, yeah, it looks like we're gonna bring you back in December?
Well, I can't hear you.
Does it seem like you're gonna come back in December? Like, what's the likelihood percentage? Like 50%, 60%?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna have to talk to Eddie about that.
Okay. Okay.
He seems to like you though, because obviously you fought your second pro fight at York Hall, and then only 8 days later he flew you out and you fought on the Andrade Salaki undercard in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
So he's keeping you pretty busy, right? I mean, that's exactly what you want, right?
Yeah.
How many times are you looking to fight in 2020? Like if
As many times as I can. You know, I'm looking for a small title very soon, and I'm just looking for a small title. So.
and then you currently fight at lightweight right now at 135 pounds. What do you think,
No.
You're not at lightweight?
No, I fight at 130.
130? Oh.
Yeah.
Junior lightweight, sorry. We forgot to add the junior. Sorry. We have some notes right here, and I guess we forgot to add the junior. So you're at 130. So, besides looking at the landscape of the 130-pound champions and, obviously the high-ranking fighters, who do you think is probably the best fighter at 130 pounds right now, besides yourself?
I would say Tevin Farmer.
So you think Tevin Farmer beats the remainder? Because it looks like Tevin Farmer is probably going to fight Jojo Diaz in the near future. You think Tevin Farmer beats Jojo Diaz?
Yeah, it's by unanimous decision.
Okay,
I can see that.
I can see that too.
Yeah.
I can see that too. And so who would be right behind Tevin Farmer at 130 pounds? Number 2.
I would say Gervonta, but he moved up to 135. Probably Jojo Diaz.
Okay. Do you think speaking of Gervonta Davis, since he moved it to 135, you think he beats Lomachenko if that matchup ever happens?
Yes. Gervonta Davis hit too hard for Lomachenko.
So you think he stops him? You think he knocks him out?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's hard to hit Lomachenko though.
I gotcha. So going back to your amateur, when you were in your amateur days, really quick, you were in the amateur scene with Devin Haney, Gabriel Flores, just to mention a few names. Out of all those guys who were in the amateurs with you, which one stands out to you in addition to being next to them?
I would say Devin Haney, but I don't want to be biased, so I'm gonna say Ryan Garcia because he came a long way.
What do you mean a long way?
Ryan will in the amateurs he will always make finals and have a close fight and lose. Now he's very good, getting very good knockouts and going to the top.
What do you think about because he's fighting Romero Duno on the Canelo Kovalev undercard, and a lot of people are looking at this fight as a big step up for him. At least in terms of competition. What do you think about that fight?
It's gonna be a good fight. I'm tuning into it.
So do you think Ryan Garcia, obviously in terms of popularity, he's obviously surpassed, the abilities, but do you think in the ring he can surpass people's expectations?
I would say yeah.
Gotcha. So kind of switching gears here for a second, Otha, as we continue forward. Obviously, you also train with Charles Conwell, who actually just fought on the same card you did this past Saturday, and unfortunately, his opponent Patrick Day obviously got seriously hurt following
Yeah.
that fight. Is there anything you want to say about Patrick Day? We haven't heard any other update besides that he's still kind of in critical condition. Is there anything you want to
Yeah.
say about that situation at the moment?
Yeah. During training camp, our intention is never to kill. It's sad that happened to that young man. But we just come to win, and prayers out to him that he doesn't, die, and it's a brutal sport.
Have you been able to talk to Charles Conwell since Saturday?
Yeah, I talked to him. He's feeling very down, and he's feeling like it's his fault, and he's just beating himself up, and I keep telling him, it's a brutal sport, and it happens. You can't, it's not in your hands. You can't control it. So don't be hard on yourself, and don't beat yourself up.
Right. No, you're right. You're right. Yeah, like you said, it's a very brutal sport, and obviously, fighters like yourself, whether it's the amateurs or especially when you're professional like you are, you're always risking
Right.
your life when you step between those ropes. So,
Right.
us as media and also as fans, we appreciate the risk you guys take. And
Yeah.
and like you said, that sometimes it just stuff like this happens and it's unfortunate, but it just comes with the territory within the sport. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. And I keep telling them, like, that could have happened to you.
right.
So you can't be so hard on yourself, right?
No, absolutely, yeah, and it's good. It's good that you're telling him that. Hopefully, I know it's we know it's a hard pill to swallow, especially him following that situation. So if you get to talk to him again in the next few days or whatever, tell him that he was on our show last week, so tell him that not to beat himself up too much. Like you said, it's a brutal sport. There's a risk involved for both sides in there, and you just kind of have to keep going. Um, but Otha, so you're coming back in December. So obviously, you're barely beginning your career. But it looks like you're on the fast track. It looks like Eddie Hearn's keeping you quite busy over there with the zone and stuff like that. And then we did want to ask you real quickly, what do you think about the YouTube fight that's next month out here in Los Angeles between KSI and Logan Paul? What's your thoughts on that as a professional boxer?
Man, it's funny. I don't know how to take that. It's two YouTubers. I can't really take it too serious.
Do you think? I mean, obviously there's obviously a lot of money that they're drawing, and there's a lot of fans that they have. And Eddie Hearn,
Yeah.
your promoter, has said that there's going to be a lot of new eyeballs that aren't necessarily boxing fans who are going to watch, and he's going to try to
Yeah.
hopefully get those eyeballs to stick around boxing. I mean, do you agree with that? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. They're gonna bring a lot of people because for years on YouTube there's been beef between them two, and once we get those eyes, hopefully they start watching the zone more often, and, buying those other pay-per-view fights
Absolutely.
also.
Absolutely. So if Eddie ringed you up tomorrow and said, "Hey Otha, do you want to be on the undercard of KSI Logan Paul?" Would you say yes?
Oh, of course. There's going to be a lot of people. I will get a lot of exposure.
That's true. Yeah, Billy Joe Saunders is going to be on there already. They've announced
Devin
it.
Haney.
Devin Haney is going to be on there. So yeah, you're right.
Right.
In terms of exposure, you get a lot of exposure. So, Otha, we appreciate your time here tonight. We know you're a couple hours ahead of us over here from Los Angeles. So, we wish you the best of luck in your career. And congratulations on this past win that you got in Chicago on DAZN this past Saturday. So before we let you go ahead and promote your social media. Anything else you have, the gym that you guys run. Go ahead. The floor is yours, man.
Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at OpenDome3RD. Shout out to Soul City Boxing. Shout out to City Management, The Zone, Metron, and shout out to my fans and family.
And Soul City Boxing is where exactly? Just to put an address out there. It's in the city. It's in which city? Which city?
Oh, Toledo, Ohio.
Okay, that's all we need. Yeah, just so we can, if people were like, "Oh, where's it at?" So, Soul City Boxing in Toledo, Ohio. So, if you're in and around that area,
Soul City Boxing, Toledo, Ohio, 801 Junction.
and you guys take in like anybody to who wants to come and learn how to box and get a workout in and stuff like that, or are you guys a private gym?
Of course, we teach, and before we teach, we ask, do you want to just work out and lose weight, or do you want to relearn boxing and compete?
Perfect. That's awesome. So Soul City Boxing in Toledo, Ohio, for you guys around that general area, go check it out. If you want to get in shape or become a boxer or just want to get a good workout in, go check it out. Tell them the guys from the last round sent you. Otha, we appreciate all your time. And we wish you the best of luck in your career. And we hope to have you on again in the future. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. You have a good night, man.
You too.
Nice kid, man. Nice kid. I mean, Eddie Hearn's picking up these names, man. He really is. He's got a really solid stable. Very good stable.
Yeah, he's definitely got, a good generation of people coming through. He seems to pick up all those elite amateurs, Olympians, those guys that, are going to come in there and, make a name for yourself. And, Toledo and, that area itself, Ohio, Terence Crawford and Conwell.
Terence Crawford trains in Ohio a lot, right?
Yeah. So they got like a good, bunch of people coming through all at the same time. So that can be another hotbed.
No, you're right. And then full transparency to our listeners, I called him a lightweight. Then he said he fights at 130. Whose fault was that? Your fault, Mike. You messed up again.
He's actually listed on BoxRec as lightweight.
So it's BoxRec's fault.
So maybe Oath is wrong.
Maybe Oath is wrong.
Yeah.
Let's call him back right now and tell him he's wrong. But yeah, we have lightweight on here on the show notes, and he's a junior lightweight. So, our mistake. Or is it BoxRec's mistake?
BoxRec's mistake.
BoxRec. Shout out to BoxRec.
You can throw it my way. It's not sticking.
Shout out to BoxRec for making a mistake again. Oh, well. But at least we fixed it. He fights at 130 pounds, and he's likely to come back in December on another DAZN card, which I expect him to come back because Eddie Hearn keeps his fighters busy pretty much. So,
yeah, it'd be good to see him back as well. I think he wants to move up, to 6 rounders next year, 6 to 8 rounders.
Right.
He said, in interviews after the fight, his fight in the weekend was a 4-rounder, but it was scheduled to be a 6-rounder, which they changed for some reason. So,
yeah, some behind the scenes stuff.
He's kind of been matched kind of hard though so far. 4-0 with just 1 KO. I think his amateur record, just means that they've stuck him in there with, people who are going to give him work, give him rounds instead of just, 4 fights, 4 first-round KOs.
So speaking of 4-rounders, going from 4 to 6 to the full 12, the main event of that card that he was on in Chicago was Alexander Usyk, who got the 7th round decision over Chaz Witherspoon. Usyk in his debut at heavyweight. What'd you think of it? And Witherspoon was a backup opponent. Usyk was obviously scheduled to fight former kickboxing star Tyrone Spong, but Spong failed a drug test for some type of banned substance. And then he was pulled from the bout. But then Spong was like tweeting that he passed like the 3rd test. He was negative or something, and he was saying it was a conspiracy or something like that. I mean, like, what was going on there?
No more kickboxers. Spong, Dylan White, Gerald Miller.
That's true.
All former kickboxers.
That's a very good observation there, Mike. The only one you've ever had in the whole year we've been on air.
I've peaked. That's it. I'm done.
You peaked. It's over. This is the last. This is the last episode of the last round. This is the last episode. But I mean, like, you know, in reality, obviously we knew that regardless of the opponent that it was going to be across from Usyk in his heavyweight debut on DAZN, it wasn't going to be a prominent fighter. You know, just to throw it out there. Like, this was to showcase Usyk at heavyweight, to kind of getting used to the weight. And he's been inactive for what, like a year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, he went undisputed at 200 pounds cruiserweight. You know, and at that time he was arguably the best pound for pound fighter in the world, or top 3 essentially. But then he's been inactive. And then they also had to introduce him to the American audience in a sense. And they put him in Chicago. Like we mentioned before we went on air, Chicago has a big, I guess, Russian Ukrainian population, which definitely helped because that place was chanting his name. They were all over it. They were all over it. So, you know, then they pick up Chaz Witherspoon, who I think they said on the DAZN broadcast that when he was called to be told if he was a backup opponent, he was buying used cars at an auction, because I guess he owns some car lot or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like in the process of buying vehicles, and they call him like, "Hey, you want to fight Usyk on Saturday? Oh, let's do it." And yeah, you know, I hope he got a decent payday for it, you know. So I mean, like we said, Usyk, and I saw some people complaining about his performance, that he started off slow, and then, you know,
the people who said that have never seen him fight.
Whoa! Why are you getting an attitude right now? I just asked a question.
I just don't
if you
get
guys
it.
if you guys can only see Mike's face right now, he's furious right now. Furious.
Because when people were all over Twitter saying, "Oh, you know, he started slowly," I'm like, "Well, yeah. If you've never
He's
seen him
methodical.
fight, he's kind of like Anderson Silva, Lomachenko, where the first few rounds he downloads information. Okay,
I like that.
He throws a jab. Okay, what does he do when I throw a jab? I'll throw a right hook. What does he do? How does he react when I throw that right hook?" He downloads information, and then once he's got enough, kind of ups the tempo, and then gets you out of there.
You're right. No, you're right.
So when people kept saying that all over Twitter, "Oh, you know, he's too slow," and I was just like, "We've never seen him fight before." If that's what you're thinking.
I mean, like, it also doesn't help that, like, he's been out of the ring for like a year, so people maybe forgot about his style. But that's how he is. He's very methodical.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, using that analogy, how he downloads stuff, and he kind of, I mean, like Lomachenko kind of does that too.
Yeah, Lomachenko.
And they're Ukrainian. They're both Ukrainian.
You know, Anderson Silva in the UFC, Adesanya in the UFC.
Whoa! This is an MMA show? What's going on here, Mike? You
Good
got
thing.
mad at me last time because I mentioned MMA.
Well, I've peaked. I've quit.
Oh, it's
quit
over.
boxing. I'm going over to UFC
This
now.
is your last show on the last round. But you know, I think it did. The fight did what it needed to do. It put him back in the ring, put him back into some type of activity. It put him into the heavyweight division, which has arguably the best money names at the moment, with Joshua, Ruiz, Wilder. You know, those guys. Fury. Fury's about to fight in Saudi Arabia before Ruiz Joshua, which is so ironic for the WWE. That's hey, in terms of marketing though, that's great. I'm all for it. But you know, I think they said that Usyk weighed 215 pounds,
which is, I think, is what David Haye also weighed when he moved up.
right? So I mean, hey, you know, it works out. And Usyk's like what, 6'3", 6'4"?
I think 6'3".
Because I saw him standing next to Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn's like 6'5",
He's tall.
6'4", 6'5", and they were standing next to each other. And Hearn was taller than him by a little bit, but he was right there with him. I was like, okay, so he's around probably 6'4"-ish, 6'3.5". So I mean, Ruiz is what, 6'2"?
Yeah, he's small. Yeah, for a heavyweight.
So I mean, I honestly like. And then Usyk obviously said after the fight, I don't know if he said it in the ring in the post fight, but he said in interviews after that, like, he wants guys like Wilder and those guys, Joshua's and stuff. He said, yeah, I'm ready for them in the next fight. And honestly, like, I know he moved up from cruiserweight and stuff, and there's obviously precedents like David Haye moving up, and like he didn't beat Klitschko, but he beat Valuev, that big tall 7'2" guy and stuff like that. But honestly, I think Usyk gives a lot of these guys problems.
I think he will.
I think he does.
I think his movement, you know, his double and triple jabs, you know, his boxing IQ.
Yeah, it's his IQ and his intelligence.
And I think, you know, just because of the size difference, you know, now you've got like what you'd essentially class as kind of super heavyweights, you know, in your Tyson Furies, you know, just in the size of their bodies and, you know, how much they're coming in weighing. I think body work is going to be something that he's going to have to work on just because of the height difference.
Right.
I know, obviously, as an amateur, he was a super heavyweight, so he was fighting the likes of, your Joe Joyce
Yeah.
and people like that back then. So he's kind of used to maybe being the smaller guy. But I honestly think he could do it, especially, if he works his way up, fights more of like a Joseph Parker, a Derek Chisora, then works his way up. And also I like the fact that he didn't just come in weighing something like 230. He's slowly but surely putting on the muscle. He didn't just go cruiserweight. Boom, his first fight, he's weighing in at heavyweight, 240 pounds.
Right.
So it's just a gradual.
I think that's a perfect plan.
Mhm.
Because obviously probably in the next fight after this, his second fight at heavyweight, he's gonna weigh a little bit more. Right. He's at 215 for this fight, so he'll probably be maybe what 225 next one.
Yeah, I would imagine. I don't think he's ever, because of the size he is, he's not going to come in, like a 250, 260 or a 300-pound
never.
Jarrell Miller.
Never.
But, a lot of people are saying, obviously, on Twitter that they want to see how he takes a shot. But I think people are forgetting, in the World Boxing Super Series, he fought Gassiev.
Yeah.
And Gassiev, in general, people who've sparred with Gassiev saying he is one of, if not the biggest puncher they've ever sparred with.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
And he
Gassiev's
took a
big guy.
flush shot from him. So,
Yeah.
it'll be interesting down the line just to see how he does. I think, though, he's got a very good chance.
I think he's dangerous.
Depending on who those belts fall to.
I think he's dangerous for anybody. Like I think he's like, in terms of entertainment, if you're expecting entertainment, I think the most entertaining fight that he would have with anybody would be with either Ruiz or Wilder.
I think
if he fights Fury, expect the whole 12-round technical fight between both of them, where people are going to be like, "Oh, this is boring." I mean, from a technical standpoint, it's probably going to be a great fight. But in terms of if you want action, somebody to get action out of him, he's going to have to go against a Wilder or a Ruiz. Maybe even a Joshua, but a Ruiz or a Wilder.
What do you think of the talk that after...
Even an Ortiz.
After Ruiz, Joshua, obviously the WBO and the IBF have got mandatories that they want fulfilling.
Right.
So the talk is, say, okay, hypothetically, Joshua wins. People keep saying that he's going to fulfill the IBF and fight Pulev. And then Eddie Hearn is going to tell him to drop the WBO so Usyk can fight for that.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Because then he has two parts.
I think Eddie Hearn, I would not be surprised if he does that, because he has Usyk and he has Joshua. And like you said, it's obviously going to depend on Joshua, because I feel like Joshua, especially winning all his titles back, I think if I was him, I'd be like, no, man, like I lost these and I won them back. I'm keeping them all.
Mhm.
Like, who knows? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's like certain like reports around that time, like, oh, there's tension between, dropping the belt. But I'm sure ideally that Hearn would want Joshua to vacate the WBO and have Usyk fight for it. And then Usyk becomes a champ. So then he has Usyk as a champ, Joshua as a champ. I mean, regardless, Hearn, if Joshua gets the belts back, he's going to have all the heavyweight belts, most of them again.
Hmm.
So, but I mean, like, having Usyk have a belt is obviously going to legitimize him more, even though he already is. And then Hearn is going to try to keep him and Joshua away from each other for as long as he can, and then kind of have them clash later for a unification bout, probably in England or something like that.
It's not keep them away. It's he lets it marinate.
Marinate. That's his how he defines it, right? His definition. But yeah, I think Usyk is definitely a wild card in the division. I think he's got because of his IQ and his boxing ability, and he was obviously undisputed at cruiserweight, like undisputed. He had all the belt, undisputed. I mean, obviously everybody knows it's ridiculously hard to become undisputed. Not just for like the talent you have to have and the fight you have to fight, but because of the boxing politics. Like, he got all the belts. So,
And he did it the hard way. He went to every single person's backyard.
Yeah, the last maybe 4 or 5 fights, he's been in different countries.
Mm.
So, you got to give it to him, man. I wouldn't be surprised if we look 3-4 years down the line and Usyk is at the top of the heavyweight mountain. Don't be surprised about that. I wouldn't be surprised about that.
It would be interesting. I think even he said in a recent interview the hardest opponent would be Tyson Fury.
Yeah, I think he's right, because Tyson Fury is obviously 6'9" and he's awkward, but he can box. He's got a technical ability. And yeah, that fight between both of them would probably be like not that entertaining in terms of like knockouts and stuff. But from a technical standpoint, it'd be a beautiful be a beautiful fight.
It'd be a chess match, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Mm.
be a beautiful fight. But I'm telling you, that's why I mentioned that Usyk fighting like a Wilder, because Wilder's obviously a knockout artist. He's got that deadly right hand. Or a Ruiz. Ruiz and Usyk are essentially the same height. So it'd be a little bit more like, I mean, I'm telling you, Usyk, I think Usyk would beat like Ruiz or something like that. Like, I don't know. This whole Joshua Ruiz fight, this is really going to set the bar of where everybody's at. Because, like, I honestly think Joshua might take it against Ruiz. And I like Ruiz too, and I would like him to win because he's Mexican. And, it's awesome that he's first Mexican heavyweight champion. But, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a trilogy between Ruiz and Joshua. So expect that. But Usyk's coming, man. Usyk's coming, and then Eddie Hearn's gonna push for that WBO mandatory fight. What? He's gonna push for it next year. Guarantee you. Also on that card, this was a co-main, right? Dimitri Bivol. He has a WBA light heavyweight title, or is it WBO?
WBA.
His WBA light heavyweight title. He remains undefeated at 17-0 for the unanimous decision win over Lenin Castillo, who gets the third loss of his career. He's 23-1 now. Bivol didn't have any problems with that. And Bivol's had the belt for quite a while now, it seems like. Like, he just hasn't really been able to get those significant fights, right?
Who wants to fight him? That's one of the most boring fights I've watched for a long. Since last time I watched him.
But Bivol is good though.
He's good, but he needs to understand that it's entertainment.
He does.
He's one of those people now that when you're in the arena, I would turn to you and be like, "Hey, Bivol's on. This is going to go 12 rounds. You want to go and grab a beer?" That's what his fight is now. It's one of those ones where you're like, "Hey, this is going 12 rounds. Let's go and grab some snacks and some beers, and then we'll come back and we'll catch the 10, 11, and 12th round. And then it's going to be the main event." He needs to understand it's entertainment.
I do like Bivol though. I do like Bivol.
He's a good boxer.
I think he's arguably the best light heavyweight at the moment.
See, I don't know. In terms of technique and stuff like that, maybe, but he's not going to earn...
Who else is there?
At light heavyweight, Kovalev, Anthony Yard.
Yard doesn't count right
now. The Nail.
Beterbiev and they fight this weekend.
Exactly. So he needed to put on a show and be able to call out the winner of the Nail and Beterbiev.
Yeah.
And he didn't do it. And he never does it. Ever since he stepped up, to the bigger names, like Joe Smith, like he fought recently.
Honestly, if I was Bivol, just because they both fight for DAZN and technically are aligned with Eddie Hearn, I would tell Eddie Hearn, like, "Hey, dude, I'll move down to 168 and fight Daniel Jacobs."
There was talk of him moving down because he's not really a big light heavyweight. He could probably boil down to, like a 168 and fight at that level. There was talk of that
and
if he could get the fights.
And you're right. And he's a high risk, low reward fighter too. Like,
he is, and he doesn't jump on, when he knocked Castillo down, Castillo was smiling. He didn't necessarily look like he was out on his feet or anything, but he doesn't jump on it. Never takes that kind of like opening. He's kind of like, well, okay, that's me. I'm winning this round 10-8. So that's 10-8. I'm up 2 points. Let's just carry on boxing. And you're thinking, dude, you're never going to get these big fights because he's not going to generate a lot of money. Because who's going to say, "Oh, let's go and watch Bivol, his main event in that thing, and it's going to go 12-round decision"? People don't pay for that.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, I think, obviously because he has a title, he's obviously going to make some okay money and at least get some fights because he has a world title. So people are going to be like, man, eventually somebody's going to have to fight him because he has a title.
Yeah, it's just going to have to fight mandatory.
Yeah. So, it is what it is. But, you're right, though. I think he needs to maybe show a little bit more personality. Or I know he doesn't really speak the language.
But he was booed.
He was. Yeah. I know he doesn't really speak the language, and, it's not like a knock on him. But you're right, though. Like, he needs to at least maybe listen to the crowd because he needs to entertain him. Like, if he got a knockout in this fight and it was, like, really brutal, then, I think more people would be like, "Oh, it's awesome." I mean, it is what it is. People want to see, blood and guts, and they want to see knockouts and stuff like that. That's what it is. Like,
Exactly.
Like, unless you have a personality outside of the ring, like a Tyson Fury or like a Mayweather or something, like, it's going to be hard for you to sell your fights from a financial standpoint, monetary standpoint. But I think Fury, like a guy like Fury or Mayweather, know, well, my money's in my mouth. It's in my personality, even though they're good fighters.
Mm-hmm.
But, Bivol needs to find that medium figure it out. Because you're right. You're right. Like he needs to start showing his opponents or these bigger opponents, these bigger name opponents that like, hey, yeah, I'm worth it. Like, from a competition standpoint, obviously he's dangerous, but money wise, isn't that what makes this sport go round anyways?
Risk reward.
Right. And then moving on that card, Jessica McCaskill, female fight, gets the majority decision 10th round over 10 rounds over Erica Annabella Farias for the WBC and WBA super lightweight female world titles. I know you thought this fight was boring.
It was terrible. Back to back, this fight and then Bivol. Oh my god!
I know. I remember you were telling me that you're like,
that was an hour of my life I won't get back.
You won't get back.
The problem was this fight was a rematch from when McCaskill won the title.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Earlier on this year or towards the end of last year, and that fight was good, but it looked like Farias had been told like 2 days ago, like, hey, you've got a world title fight coming up. She looked gassed very, very early on. All she did was hug when she got in close. McCaskill even kind of said, that's not the fight she was expecting, because last time they both kind of just stood in the trenches and, and threw blows. Disappointing, especially since it seems to be this is the kind of the year or the last 2 years, maybe they've been trying to, push female fights.
Right. Absolutely.
So, if you were tuning in for the first time, and you were this is the first female fight you'd seen.
No, you're right.
You'd be thinking, oh my god, this is absolutely terrible. Yeah. You only get a chance to make one first appearance.
You're right. Yeah.
So if that was your introduction to female boxing, my god, they're not going to want to watch it.
Right.
Female UFC fights. Talking about UFC again, but Amanda Nunes and all those fights are great. Sometimes even better than
because they're a lot more brutal.
It's true.
That's true.
So
I don't know. The brutality is there. That's why
they're pushing it. So. To me, honestly, when they're having these, like third or even co-main, I think they need to kind of make sure they've got two really good fighters in there.
Yeah.
And this definitely didn't suit, been this high on the card, in my opinion. But
it is what it is, man. Also on the card, Charles Conwell, friend of the show, was on last episodes of the last round. Gets the 10th round KO over Patrick Day, who we did mention earlier in the show. As of us recording this episode, the last news we heard is that Patrick Day is still in very critical condition. I think he was in a coma. That's the last news that we had heard. So obviously everybody here at the last round, the entire team, sends our well wishes and prayers to Patrick Day and his family and friends. We hope he pulls through. We don't want something else, especially with Dadashev, just passing away a couple months ago. After his fight, we don't need another one of these, man. I know the sport is brutal and stuff like that, but we hope Patrick Day pulls through like the fighter he is and beats this whatever's holding him back here. So, nothing but love, prayers, and good thoughts towards Patrick Day, his family and friends. We're pulling for you, man. And then, like we mentioned, Otha Jones III gets the 4th round majority decision over Eric Manriquez. And then also friend of the show, Anthony Sims Jr., cousin of Floyd Mayweather Jr., gets the 6th round TKO over Morgan Fitch and calls out, you're right, your friend and mine, Rocky Fielding.
He certainly knows what to do. He turns it on in his entrances. He's great in interviews.
I think that was a good call out for him.
He's flashy in the ring.
I think that was a good call out.
I listened to another podcast and they were saying that Eddie Hearn's been trying to get Rocky in the ring with him for a while.
Well, he's living off of that Canelo fight.
But money. Rocky's kind of like, well, what does he do for me?
Has he fought since the Canelo fight?
No, he's been out for a long time.
Because he's living off of that Canelo payday.
Yeah.
I mean, like, honestly, I think that was great. I wouldn't be surprised if Eddie Hearn told him, like, hey, call out Fielding.
Yeah, I could imagine it, but it's one of those where for Anthony Sims Jr., it does all of the right things, but for Rocky Fielding, it's really a step backwards if he loses, and how does he come back from that?
You're right. You're right.
Because Rocky is probably at kind of a crossroads in his career, Does he still try and work up to world level? Does he drop back down to British and European level? Probably doesn't want to, he's still young enough to maybe, come again. So it's definitely a fight I'd like to see. I'd like to see that at Anfield, the home of Liverpool Football Club. on a Callum Smith card, like as a co-main event.
Maybe.
Anthony Sims Jr. definitely knows what he's doing. So
I think it was a good call out because Rocky Fielding, like, people know him because of the Canelo fight. And, I think Sims Jr. has a really good chance against him. I mean, Rocky Fielding is really a big puncher.
No.
And if he's able to obviously defeat Rocky Fielding, it's a good name to have on his resume, especially because he's a young fighter coming up. I think it was an ideal call out for him. I think it worked out. So I mean, hey, if hopefully they can make that fight happen because then it's intriguing. I think it's an intriguing matchup. So you're right though. We got to get Sims Jr. back on the show, man. And he said he wants to fight in the UK. He's all about it over there, man. He's a big fan.
He's doing well. He does everything right. Interviews, entrances. Performs in the ring. Got the KO. I'm surprised that Morgan Fitch actually lasted till the 6th. You had him pretty much down and out in the first round. So
yeah. So going for this weekend, like you mentioned, Friday the 18th of October from the Liacouras Center in Philadelphia, PA, on the Plus, ESPN Plus, the app. The Nail goes up against Beterbiev for a unification matchup, WBC and IBF light heavyweight titles. This is going to be an excellent fight. I hope. On paper it is.
I'm going to go and say it. This isn't going 12 rounds.
I hope not.
Every time you say that, it ends up going 12 rounds.
I mean, anybody who's a fan of boxing actually knows who these guys are. I think that's a safe bet that it wouldn't go 12 rounds, right?
Well, yeah, you've got a combined record of 31-0 with 28 knockouts between them.
That's insane.
Beterbiev being the 14-0 with 100% KO ratio. Someone's go.
Those guys, those fighters with the 100% KO ratios, like him, Virgil Ortiz, and those guys are always like that's also a marketing tool too. Like, it gets people to tune in. Like, yeah, he's knocked out everybody's spot.
Mm-hmm.
Those other people are getting, like, casual fans are gonna want to tune in just to see, like, oh, let's see if he does it again. I'm excited. I'm excited for this fight. I mean, it sucks that obviously that a lot of people don't, like, in terms of American, like, casual fans and stuff, like, won't know who they are. But in terms of, like, from a boxing fan's perspective, this is a great freaking fight.
It's definitely a great fight. I would say the Nail being kind of the more boxer. They're both big, heavy punchers. I would say the Nail is more of a boxer. Beterbiev be more of your kind of like a clubbing boxer. I would say Brawler being too much. Maybe that's being too mean to him. But, he's very heavy-handed. He kind of cuts the ring off. He's kind of like a light heavyweight Golovkin.
If I was Bivol, because we talked about Bivol,
mm-hmm.
I would show up to this fight. Be in the audience.
If he was like a Fury or a Wilder, you could see him, ringside.
I know he fights on DAZN, I get it, but I would show up to this fight. Oscar De La Hoya was at Spence Porter. They didn't put him on camera, but he was there.
Well, remember, Golovkin did it to Triple G, right? No, did to Canelo, right? Came and sat in the crowd.
Yeah, but, like, they were on the same network. Like
you say, he needs something.
Bivol should go to this fight. I don't care if it's on ESPN. He should be there in the crowd.
Yeah,
he should
be in the crowd, get interviewed, call them out.
I'm right here.
Yeah, but he won't.
I would do it. I mean, I don't know. I know he's the Zone, ESPN. I get it. And Eddie Hearn probably like, no, you're not going on over there and main events every time. If I was main events, like, go over there, go to the fight. But I'm excited for this fight. This could be fight of the year. We've had pretty good, solid contender lists the last 10, 11 months.
We had Spence Porter,
Julian Williams, Jarrett Hurd.
Then the shock of Andy Ruiz, Anthony
and
Joshua.
So, I mean, this could be. There's a lot of contenders. We're going to have to, at the end of the year, we're going to have to look at all this list and really dissect every single one. Because we are.
So you're going to pick, who are you picking?
I'm not giving you my pick right now. Forget you. We're not going that route. Talk to me on December 31st.
Well, I meant for the fight.
Oh, never mind.
Not for the fight of the year.
All right, I apologize. I'm going with the Nail.
I'm going opposite. I just don't think I'm going to go Beterbiev. I just don't think that he can hold him off long enough. I think Beterbiev is more of you come forward, take no prisoners type approach. And I think that the Nail sometimes goes back in straight lines and is a little bit straightforward, a little bit upright. Adonis Stevenson caught him a few times.
You're right.
And I just don't know whether Teddy Atlas has improved him enough. At the minute, I don't think his defensive skills are enough to hold Beterbiev off for 12 rounds. And he really has a big punch, a real equalizer.
Right.
And I just don't think he can hold him off.
Maybe. You make a good point, but I'm still disagreeing with you. I think the Nail's going to take it. I think he's going to be unified light heavyweight champ.
12 rounds?
No, it's not going to go. No. We said it was going to be a stoppage.
I was just asking the question.
You got mad earlier. Now I'm getting mad. No, I think the Nail stops him in the 8th.
I think Beterbiev, last third of the fight, so, somewhere between, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think it'll be a late one. I think he'll just tire. At one moment, he'll come walking back in a straight line, and Beterbiev will just catch him. And that's all that she wrote.
All that she wrote, and then straight line to the news and notes of the section. Going back to another, mentioning another unfortunate situation, just the last week or so, been really crappy in terms of news in the sport of boxing. But obviously, Errol Spence Jr., who's a unified welterweight world champion, just defeated Sean Porter out here in Los Angeles at the Staples Center. Was in a vehicle accident in Dallas, Texas. He was driving like his Ferrari or something. There's video of it. I don't know if you got a chance to see the video, but it looked horrific. It looked ridiculous. And they said that he was thrown. He wasn't wearing a seatbelt, allegedly. And he was thrown. And I guess that people are saying, and this is just what I'm reading and stuff, but like, there's a chance that him not wearing a seatbelt saved his life because he got thrown out of the car or something. And then, there was a statement released by PBC saying that he's in, stable condition, that he's going to make a full recovery. He's going to be okay, that it's not as bad as it looked, which is great news, because when I first heard about it, the first thing that popped into my head, Paul Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Williams, because remember the Paul Williams, 6'2", welterweight, was beating everybody. Everybody was scared to fight him because he was another one, high risk, low reward. And then he fought Sergio Martinez. Sergio Martinez knocked him out, and and then he got like a motorcycle accident, and now he's in a wheelchair. He's paralyzed. That's the first thing that popped into my head when I heard about this. Like, oh no! I was like, you got to be kidding me! I was like, right after he unifies titles and all this stuff, this is when his stock and his profile is really getting up there. And, luckily, like according to the statement from PBC and all that stuff, that he's okay, he's going to make a full recovery. And, the only thing that really concerns me is if he was drinking and he was driving, just because obviously we obviously can see that he likes to party in between fights. If he was drinking and the cause was because he was intoxicated, that's very unfortunate. I mean, who knows? We don't have all the details yet, but hopefully this is a wake up call to him to kind of show that, like, hey man, like you're a superstar kid, or you're getting to that superstar level, and you're one of the best fighters in the world. You got to really kind of really be a role model in and out of the ring. So our well wishes and good thoughts to Errol Spence and his family. It sounds like he's going to make a full recovery and he's going to be okay. But obviously we send our well wishes towards him. And hopefully this doesn't keep him out of the ring for too long. Especially now that he has 2 belts in that division at 147 pounds. And then wrapping up the show with the best part of the show. That's right. Tyson the Gypsy King Fury is now a member of the WWE. Which I think is great. Marketing wise, that was genius. I thought it was awesome. And you know what? When WWE was promoting that they were moving to Fox, because they just moved their show SmackDown to Fox, and then obviously PBC is on Fox, I thought, oh, this is great. I was like, because Al Heyman is going to probably want to put his fighters across with PBC or across with WWE because of the Fox relationship. I was like, oh, that's great. I mean, Tyson Fury is the one, and the good thing that at least for fans in terms of boxing politics, not fans of boxing politics, but it's good that Fox gave the green light to put Tyson Fury into that, because obviously it shows that they're investing into the Wilder Fury rematch because it's going to be a joint pay-per-view between Fox and ESPN. So Tyson Fury is gonna wrestle or do some type of performance against a wrestler named Braun Strowman, who's just as tall as him. They're both like the same height, except Strowman, I think, outweighs him by like maybe 40 pounds. And the ironic thing is that how we talked about beforehand is they're gonna fight in Saudi Arabia before Joshua Ruiz. I think it's hilarious. So, hey, marketing standpoint, this is great. For Tyson Fury, top rank in ESPN and Fox, that's a home run right there from a marketing standpoint.
He was a natural. On the mic, the way that, his trash talk, it was just like listening to one of his normal media days for boxing.
Yeah, he knows what to do. He knows what to do. He knows. So I'm excited to see where this goes. I think he was on, because we're recording this on a Monday night, and they always have Monday Night Raw, and I think he was supposed to be out again, and they're obviously keeping him on TV. So smart move by Tyson Fury with respect to his overall career and from a marketing standpoint and getting people to see him more. But, once again, we'd like to thank our guest for this week on The Last Round, Otha Jones III, who was coming off his 4th win of his career in Chicago, Illinois, in DAZN this past Saturday. Good luck to him and his team. And then obviously we want to send our prayers once again to Patrick Day and obviously Errol Spence Jr. We hope they pull through and knock out whatever's in front of him, whatever they're fighting against right now. So, Mike, tell them where to follow the show here.
We are at The Last Round 12 on Instagram and Twitter. And don't forget to join us next week. We'll be reviewing the Beterbiev and the Nail fight, and obviously previewing Josh Taylor and Regis Prograis.
Nice. Wrapping up the year here at The Last Round. So once again, I'm Danny Z. For my partner, Michael Shepard, this is The Last Round.
Thanks for supporting and listening to the show. Follow us at The Last Round 12 on social media. Rate, review, and subscribe.